important. And with that way, you can easily grow bigger and better with your money. Make your money count, invest your money into something that will be very important and very, very vital for your life as an individual. Zabu says, my money, my future. Powered by Otex East Africa, which says do something new. So the markets do open at 8:15 a.m. and close at 3:15 p.m. East African Standard Time. These markets are normally closed during weekends and public holidays. Well, besides that, meanwhile, as we continue to look at what is coming through into the world of business, there is also an opportunity for you to watch all 64 games live and in HD for the World Cup 2022 in Qatar. GoTV says you can buy a GoTV decoder, 25,000 Ugandan shillings. That particular one does come with a free subscription of GoTV value. But meanwhile, if you want to watch all the matches live, you have to upgrade to GoTV Super at 39,000 Ugandan shillings. Then you will be able to watch all the matches live and in HD, and with the comfort of your living room, you will feel like you are in Qatar. Many thanks for joining me this morning. GoTV says, love it. Okay, now speaking of a topical discussion, we are going to be looking at youth involvement in the agricultural sector. And joining me on set, I do have two gentlemen. One is coming in from Pelham, Uganda. He's also the youth engagement from the Youth Engagement Program, Mr. Mugisha Richard, who is at my extreme end. Many thanks for joining us this morning, sir.
Thank you, Joram, and good morning, our dear viewers.
All right, and the gentleman sitting next to me is an entrepreneur in agribusiness, and this is none other than Naol Adunya. Many thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much, Joram.
Okay, and speaking of youth involvement in agriculture, I will start with Mr. Mugisha Richard, who will be taking us through how are the young people faring in this sector.
Thank you very much, Joram. Good morning, our dear viewers once again. My name is Richard Mugisha, and I'm the youth engagement expert that is working with one of the initiative that is in East Africa called YALTA, that is Youth in Agroecology and Business Learning Track Africa, that is hosted and implemented by Pelham, Uganda. We are equally present in Kenya, Rwanda, and Ethiopia, and that's why we have our colleague from Ethiopia to give us that kind of insight and perspective of how the youth are faring in agriculture currently. Okay. You'll appreciate that agriculture in Uganda and maybe in most of the East African countries' economy, they are prioritizing agriculture as the only outstanding sector that can potentially provide employment opportunities for young people. But you know what is happening at the moment? The young people's involvement in agriculture is still limited, and it is anchored on a number of factors. One of them is the mindset or the attitude towards agriculture, thinking it cannot easily give them what they actually want. Okay. Because they think really they should be able to be engaged in activities that give them very quick monies or very quick profits and benefits. Okay. But forgetting that agriculture has a high potential actually to give them employment, enhance their income, but also to give them an opportunity to feed a country or the communities. Okay. So their involvement at the moment is still limited. Okay. But maybe it is also because of how the government prioritizes.
Because I was going to ask you, why do you think it is limited as of now?
Yeah, I think it also stems from what the government prioritizes. Okay. Yeah, in terms of investment, when we look at the investment opportunities, for instance, in budget allocation, you know, historically, the budget allocation to agriculture has always been very small, not going beyond 3% of the entire total budget allocation. So that also gives you an impression that also maybe the political leaders or the duty bearers do not necessarily prioritize agriculture, and yet in documents, in policies, we say agriculture is the backbone of Uganda's economy. So, but it does not necessarily mean that it should all be dependent on what our leaders say, but we are also saying it takes a personal initiative to appreciate, to learn, and say, now, let me make my entry point in making sure that I find my employment. It also takes one to see opportunities. So we want to see how we can continue motivating and inspiring many more youth to appreciate that There is no any other sector that can potentially provide employment, that can actually absorb and embrace the biggest percentage of the population. So youth that are watching and listening, please take note of this, that nowhere else that we can find employment, nowhere else that we can proudly be associated other than agriculture.
All right, now if I'm to bring you in here, what do you think has been able to help the youth that are benefiting from the sector benefit from it as well?
Yeah, actually agriculture is in Ethiopia, it's like 70% of the population live directly with agriculture. You know. So agriculture is very important. We are entrepreneurs working with farmers.
Okay.
We directly we are customers of farmers. We get vegetables and other raw materials directly from farmers, and we add value to it, and we produce products. Okay. So it's very beneficial, you know, to engage the youngsters, because the energy is there, the mindset is there, the knowledge is there. So if we engage and if we invest a lot in agriculture, the potential is very high, and it can change the game now. When I was born, you know, in Ethiopia, in the northern Ethiopia where I was born, the drought and this famine was existing. So, you know, we were provided with aids and different products from other places. Okay. So my dream was, you know, to engage with farmers, to work with farmers in order to produce a product that are the products that are from locally sourced crops. So not only agriculture is important, but also the customer, the market should be there. And in order to fulfill that market, it's very important to, you know, connect the agriculture sector and the food producing sector.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And as well, if you're to look at the situation here in the country, as you've been here in Uganda, I don't know for how long though, what has been your observation when it comes to the youth involvement in the agricultural sector?
Actually, I have traveled from places to places. I have seen how green Uganda is, how engaged the youth is. I have seen from my visits. I have went to Wakiso. I have seen in the roads how much this country is green. And but my friend told me that it was greener 10 years ago. Okay. So there should be initiative in order to make it, you know, more greener, more involving the youngsters in agriculture, because I know that many percentage of Uganda and also Ethiopia is the youngsters. So if we involve the youngsters in agriculture sector, there will be an amazing result, I'm very sure, because I have seen with small farmers that there is high amount of change also in Ethiopia and also from the visits we had in Uganda. So I think the role of youth involving in agriculture is irreplaceable for sure.
Okay. As we get back, let me get back to Mr. Mugisha Richard here. Why do you think the hardship is that has created this kind of mindset where youth involvement or the young people involvement in agriculture is still stuck among the ancient thinking of, if I involve myself in agriculture, then I'm bound to fail, or it is for people who have literally not gone to school?
Let me tell you something, Joram. You see, they say that persistence breeds resistance. Do you appreciate that apparently now it is the educated that are getting more involved in agriculture, and they're actually reaping a lot? So before it used to be a case of the aging, you know, the elderly to be involved in agriculture, but now there is already a paradigm shift. We are seeing more educated, we are seeing more people who have money or are rich per se and getting into agriculture. What does that mean? It sends a message that there is something that more beneficial. There is a security in agriculture. So my opinion is that now it takes one person, or it takes a person really to get to understand, to learn and identify every those opportunities that underlie into agriculture. And as of late, we have now moved into understanding that agriculture is no longer for a hobby, but it is now a business. Because food is life, you know. So if it is life, there is nothing that can ever stop agriculture, because we were born and we found agriculture, and it will still forever live. So what does that mean? It simply means that it is now going to live even after us. So how do we now take advantage of the existing infrastructure, existing resources that we are talking about? My colleagues from Ethiopia and Kenya, they have all been appreciating Uganda as a green kind of country. They were all really wowed to see kind of a green vegetation. So what does that mean? That Ugandans now, they need now to have their eyes open to start taking advantage. However, with my experience, I have engaged young people for the last 10 years or so, and I have seen more of them really appreciating steadily and progressively, and I think as of now we have a steady kind of progressing graph for youth to get into agriculture by themselves. And I have met more than 2,500 youth who before were looking for jobs, and now instead they are the ones providing for jobs in agriculture. Okay. So that means that they have already seen. So what does that it means? It means that the actors, the agriculture actors, the development partners, the government itself should really be able to support these young people by providing a favorable kind of policy environment. We should be now deliberate to see that we encourage and motivate more young people to be involved in agriculture, but also we should support the actors, maybe the development partners, to mobilize these young people, and also starting from home, promoting the family models, especially family farming models, because there's nothing that we can do without food. Food is life, and people need to appreciate that there's already an interference. Since the coming of COVID-19, people appreciated to eat kind of healthy food or full healthy diets, and food is now becoming more important than before. Because it helps us to boost our immunity, and so healthy feeding really gives us kind of a steady life. So instead of eating medicine as food, let's now begin to eat food as medicine. Okay. More especially by employing kind of environmentally friendly farming systems like agroecology, organic farming systems, where we really potentially see that youth can ably benefit a lot in terms of business, in terms of employment. There are also a number of entry points, not necessarily handling the whole, but it can also mean to add value. So, for instance, if I want to be involved in production of honey, I don't necessarily need to be a beekeeper. Just let the beekeeper who has, for instance, land do that, and for me, I come and buy honey from the farmer, I add value, pack it, and bring it to the customer. So those are the entry points that we are talking about for young people to be to tap into and seize, so that it remains a smart business.
Okay, and Adunya, as Mr. Richard has mentioned here about value addition, you are into agribusiness. If you can break it down for us, where can someone add value to the agricultural raw materials, for example, in a country like ours?
It's very important. This topic is very important because the main problem, even in our country, is when you produce products like healthy products such as organic products, it's very hard to find the market access to the cities, because they might, get a premium price. But if you take them into a product, if you prototype, if you do something with them, they can change, they can be healthy, they can give the consumers a nutritious product. They are very good in terms of many nutrients. So it's very important to add value on the product. Not only getting from the producer to consumer, but also getting from the producer to the customer. The customer who produces, who add a value. It's very important, because when you do things, you blend different kind of ingredients that can benefit the population. Now we are working mainly on children, because malnutrition has been the problem of Ethiopia for many years, and there has been different actions to take that down. But we have not been that much successful. So in order to halt this problem across our country, the youth should involve in product development on how to use the raw materials from the farming area to the consumer, to the children, to the infants, to the mothers who are lactating. So we have now developed around 4 products. They are mainly, we get them from farmers. Most of them are made from organically produced raw materials. So we are using those materials in order to, give our consumers a healthy product. This should be a very important topic. So I encourage the youth, not only the farmers, but also the one who are in food processing companies, to use the materials that are healthy and give their product to the consumer, because that way they can be sustainable. That way they can be sustainable. They can also make it affordable, I'm very sure, because we have seen from our experiences. So working with farmers is very important. We don't have to afraid to work with farmers. We have to create the chain. So from our experience, we have been very successful. It's 2 years since we started.
Okay.
So we engage with different farmers around Addis Ababa. So they are also very happy to work with us, and we are very happy to work with them because we get a fresh product. So in Uganda, I'm very sure there are many farmers. So I'm very sure also there are many entrepreneurs. So they have to open their eyes in order to see what they can get from them and use each other's potential. So this is very important.
All right, and now I would as well want to understand from the perspective of Ethiopia, for example, which major agriculture products does the country export more?
Actually, the agricultural products such as coffee, tea, we export them, but our consumption is mainly on a grain called teff and injera. Okay. This is our staple food. So we also use barley, faba beans, wheat. So these are more produced locally. But most of the producers, if you see, such as cracker producers, biscuit producers, we produce biscuits, highly nutritious biscuits. So most of them, import goods from outside of the country, which is, taking the foreign exchange out of the country. So we mainly use locally sourced crops from our neighbors, from our neighboring farmers. So this is very important. We use teff in our raw material, we use faba bean, we use barley. These all things are found in our neighboring farmers. So this is very important. When we start to produce, we don't have to look outside of our scope. We have to look inside and see the potential. So and try to give a solution based on that potential. Okay. From my experience, I have been facing malnutrition when I was a child. Okay. We were provided with different biscuits and other products from other places. So my dream was to use that locally sourced crop, okay, mainly produced in our country, to a product that can be useful for the children, in order to get them, grow healthy, grow big, grow strong, and continue in their education. Because most of students in Ethiopia, most of the time in the rural areas, they get out of school because they don't get the nutrition they deserve. So without getting the nutrition, they cannot concentrate and learn. So youth should see this. This is the biggest problem. So now it should be the time to engage the youngsters into a healthy business, a healthy way of giving a solution to our country, because that way we can make it sustainable. And from our experience, from our 2 years experience, we have seen that if youth can engage in agriculture, food processing, and studying the market and observing the real problem, I am very sure there is a high amount of solution and also a big change that we can see in our country.
All right, and we've got more quick 20 minutes to go after the break. We shall be discussing more of the involvement of the young people in the agricultural sector, and also looking at how the young people can prosper into this particular one. And also, just to remind you quickly, is that according to the Uganda Bureau of Statistics on a report that was released August, is that 70% of the working population is in one way or the other involved in the agricultural sector, either through value addition that includes export, manufacturing, but still in the agricultural sector. So that clearly shows you it's still the backbone of Uganda's economy. There are some hardships and challenges somewhere, but then how then can we cover up those loopholes? That and more is what we're going to be discussing after the break. I'm still with Mr. Mugisha Richard, the Youth Engagement Program from Pelham, Uganda, and also I do have Naol Adunya from Ethiopia, but he's also an entrepreneur in agribusiness. Stick around, I'll be right back.